We're here today celebrating Harry and Margaret, my mom and dad, 55th wedding anniversary. We think this is quite a big occasion, and we thought we'd put them on the spot and ask them a couple of questions.
Is the lighting okay?
How did you two meet?
A long time ago, we both worked in the same place, but we didn't actually meet there.
Can I put in?
Yeah, well, if you want to say that. They had organized a sleigh riding party in January, and it was a very
Very cold night.
bitter cold night. We had 2 sleigh loads full of young people, and we drove way out in the country with the horses. And it was so cold, a lot of the fellows got jumped out of the wagon and run along beside. And some of the girls did too. And I know my girlfriend and I, her name was Dorothy Miller, we were running alongside, and I looked back and I saw this young man running along behind, and I admired him very much. I said to my girlfriend, that fellow's built just the way I like a man. I'd like to marry him someday. And I didn't even know his name. That's the truth. Anyway, we ended up at the farmer. We were supposed to go to this cottage they had out there, but when we got there, the boys couldn't get the fireplace going, and they filled the place full of smoke, and we were all choking on it. So the farmer said we'd go over to his place, to his house, and they had a huge kitchen. And the whole gang of us, there must have been at least 30 of us, went into the farmer's kitchen. And we had a good time. We had food and drinks and sing songs. And I don't think I even noticed Dad the rest of the night there. But when it was time for us to go, the farmer wouldn't take us home. He said, it's too cold out. He wouldn't take his horses out on a night like that, that we'd have to wait till the morning when the temperature was better. So we were there till maybe 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning, the whole gang of us. And then he hitched up the horses to the sleighs and drove us back into town.
You okay with that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Brian.
And we went to Dorothy Miller's boyfriend's place, Ray Whitmer's. And what was left of a keg of beer, they took that in there. And we weren't there very long, and Ray's dad kicked us all out. Because they were Mennonite people and they didn't believe in drinking. And so we went over to somebody else's place, one of the other guys, Henry Yankees, remember? Yeah. And we stayed there for a couple of hours. The boys had to finish off the beer. And we had breakfast there. Mrs. Yankee made breakfast for us. And then we trotted off home. Of course, I had a lot of explaining to do when I got home to my mother and dad of why we were coming home that late in the day. And later on, my girlfriend, called, and or she came to the house with her toboggan, her big toboggan, and she said, let's go tobogganing. So we said, okay. It was on a Sunday, and she says, I've made a date with 2 fellas for us. We're to meet them in front of the old city hall, you know, down there, the restroom. And she wouldn't tell me who it was. I knew Ray. And the funny part of it was, I went to the sleigh riding party with her, Ray Whitmer, and he fell in love with Dorothy. And they made a date to go, and he said he'd bring along this other fella, and the other fella was Dad. And that's when I actually got to talk to him. and we went up behind the Jewish synagogue and went tobogganing. And it was a pretty bumpy toboggan ride there. It was pretty steep. We went over quite a lot of bumps. Then we went back over to Ray Whitmer's place, and his father let us in that time. We were all, Violet and her boyfriend were there, and Ray and Dorothy and you and I. And I was quite shy then, really. Dorothy went and sat on Ray's knee, and she said, "Why don't you go and sit on Ray's knee?" And I said, no way. I wouldn't do that. And Violet was sitting on her boyfriend's knee, and they had the parlor all to themselves, you know. And I think Dad was just as shy as what I was. But we did make dates to go out together after that, as two couples, like we'd go out with them. We double dated, went to the show quite a bit together. And finally we quit going together and we started going separately. That's the way it was. That's how we met. And that's why we're still together. I don't think we ever went tobogganing again after that.
That was so cool.
Yeah. But we went to a lot of parties and shows, things like that.
That's very good.
Yeah. You wanna add anything to that?
No.
Yeah, it's a long story because a lot can happen in 55 years,
Yes.
an awful lot.
Bye.
Actually,
On, once again, on your 55th wedding anniversary, what sort of words of wisdom would you have for couples today in order to make a long and lasting relationship like the one that you've had?
you have to have faith in God and trust in each other. Like, I believed everything Dad ever told me. I really trusted him.
Didn't have any trouble.
And I don't know if he really trusted me or not. But I think he did. That I really loved him. I still do.
Carry on.
He was the nicest person that I ever knew. We could really talk to each other.
Dad, do you have anything you wanted to say? Now that Mom's done all the talking?
Always let your wife do all the talking.
Carry on.